been a year since the MV Princess of the Stars sank in the Sibuyan Sea near Romblon after sailing in the midst of Typhoon Frank. In the Navy headquarters in Manila, a mass was offered in memory of the victims of the tragedy. It also happens to be the 35th anniversary of Marina. Transportation Undersecretary Len Bautista offered her apology to the family of those who perished.
Kahit na act of God man siya, kahit na dahil siya sa bagyo o kung anumang sakuna, parang gusto ko pa rin mag-apologize, gusto ko pa rin mag-sorry sa kanila dahil mahirap mamatayan.
Of the more than 800 passengers and crew of the MV Princess of the Stars owned by Sulpicio Lines, only 33 survived. 447 bodies have been recovered and identified, and 365 remain missing up to now. Bodies that were recovered but remain unclaimed or unidentified were buried in Cebu today. Relatives of some of the passengers appealed to authorities to conduct DNA resampling.
Hindi ko naalagaan ang anak ko. Diskontento ko. Baka andyan lang siya. Gusto ko ako ang maglibing sa sarili kong anak. Hindi madali ang nararamdaman namin.
Up to now, the wreckage of the ship remains stranded off the coast of Sibuyan Island. But the Philippine Coast Guard says it has already begun the third stage of salvage operations. They are ready to refloat the sunken vessel, especially since its cargo of endosulfan and fuel have been recovered. But the process remains difficult.
Of course, alisin muna yung mga cargo to lighten the vessel, and then saka siya i-refloat, no? And tow it to a nearby location where they will attempt to put the vessel in upright position.
At the Manila Bay, the family of victims cast a replica of the MV Princess of the Stars into the sea to commemorate the tragedy. For many, the wounds left by the accident will take more than a year to heal. They are still hoping that the remains of their loved ones will be recovered and that justice will be served.
Hustisya po talaga, hustisya. Hindi po kami papayag yung binigay nilang 200,000, hindi po ganun lang ang halaga ng kapatid ko. Hanggat sa dulo po lalaban kami.
The case against Sulpicio Lines is still being heard at the Marina. For now, the firm's passenger ships are still grounded.
Katong sa mga pamilya, sa kami we're with you, we're grieving with you. Sa katong uban nga family nga wa pa na.
The Justice Department has ordered the filing of charges against Sulpicio Lines and the captain of the MV Princess of the Stars. The charges are reckless imprudence resulting in multiple homicide against Captain Florencio Marimon and Edgar Go, one of the owners of Sulpicio Lines. Ato Maraulio, ABS-CBN News.
Welcome to Media in Focus. We're here with Muntinlupa Representative Ruffy Biazon, whose bills on maritime rules and safety measures are pending in Congress. Welcome to ANC, Congressman Biazon.
Thank you,
These
Cheche.
bills that you have pending have been there since last year.
Yes, I first filed them back in 2007, actually, and even before that, in the 13th Congress. And these are bills that have been pending in Congress since those times, and even in the face and the wake of the Sulpicio Lines disaster, now remain pending and you know,
Why aren't they moving forward?
I think it's just basically a lack of attention by Congress. It's sad to say that Congress plays a major role in these tragedies.
Yes.
If I may go back to the accident back in 1997, I think, the Princess of the Orient, the Board of Marine Inquiry conducted an investigation, and of course they had recommendations. And those recommendations are what were the basis of the bills that we filed. And you know, eerily, one of the statements in the conclusion of the BMI report is that if Congress fails to act on these recommendations, then such accidents would surely happen again.
You know, which is really very curious, because when the MV Doña Paz sank in 1987, our team covered that story, and it seems to repeat itself. Does media coverage help, or does it, how would you assess media coverage when all of these disasters happen?
Well, like, for example, with Princess of the Stars, during the investigation, of course, the media coverage was excellent, and it really pushed Congress to act on the issue, and all the concerns came up. But I would understand that newer issues would take the limelight, but then we don't seem to go back to those issues that were left behind.
Would you say, for example, that media focuses on it at the height of the disaster and then leaves it alone, drops it, and therefore Congress now equally drops its attention from very high to nothing?
Yes, I think if media would be able to help out in reminding Congress of some of these issues that have been left behind, then legislation such as the creation of the National Transportation Safety Board, Maritime Code of the Philippines, etc., would be left behind also.
Okay, so you're in effect you're saying that media, coverage of media does affect the political will of our congressmen to do something.
Oh, yes, you know, Congress is made up of political animals, and and once media lights up a fire under the seat of congressmen, then we act.
But isn't that a sad commentary on the way our congressmen prioritize what is needed?
Oh yes, just like this issue, we had to wait for 1 year before again this comes into to focus.
Okay.
On the first anniversary of the Princess of the Stars tragedy, the news was that the DOJ will be filing charges against the owner. But then we failed to make a comment again on the pending legislation that is in Congress to address that issue.
So even after the celebration of this 1 year anniversary, nothing has been generated in terms of political will to push these bills or to make any definitive moves to help push the maritime industry forward in terms of safety?
Yes. If you remember, during the time that we conducted those hearings, the emphasis was this is in aid of legislation. That's what the congressmen were saying. So this is 1 year after, we haven't passed a law yet, although there are already laws that are, or bills that are already pending there in Congress.
And all they need is approval?
Approval, yeah.
Okay.
For example, the creation of the National Transportation Safety Board. It was a very important recommendation by the Board of Marine Inquiry 10 years before the accident of Princess of the Stars. And yet we remained, it remained unacted upon.
Okay. For example, in the coverage of media, when you go to Princess of the Orient, Princess of the Stars, did we sensationalize coverage? I'm sure you were watching it closely.
Well, I wouldn't say it was sensationalized, but I would say that at that time it was appropriate coverage, enough to spur Congress into action.
Yeah.
But to sustain the action of Congress, I think that's where media coverage waned.
Okay.
As I said, if every once in a while the issue would be raised and reminded about pending action by Congress, then that's the role that media can play.
Okay. Recently, there was a boat that capsized in Batangas, in Puerto Galera, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that a question of enforcement or legislation?
That was enforcement. The boat was overloaded. It was allowed to set sail beyond its capacity, and I guess even the conditions of the seas during that time should have been considered before clearing that boat.
Okay, and even the structure, the boat was made of wood, and I think now they're trying to look into possibilities that this is no longer seaworthy.
Well, I'm not really that technically knowledgeable about that, but from what I gathered before, as long as you keep within the limits, even if it is made of wood, constructed out of wood, then there wouldn't be any problem.
Okay.
Like in that particular case, I think the passenger capacity was supposed to be only about 45 persons, and they had almost 90 persons there.
Right.
And with choppy seas, the outrigger broke.
Okay. Have we been remiss as media in informing the public about their rights under our laws when it comes to maritime safety?
Well, I don't think it's really the responsibility of media to do that. But of course, when issues like this come out, it would be better if the media would be able to really digest for the people what the important issues are and expose who is responsible to act on those concerns.
Okay, if this legislation that you have been trying to pass in Congress does not pass, Are we bound to repeat what happened in 1987, what happened in Princess of the Orient and Princess of the Stars?
I would say so, yes, because that's exactly what happened with regard to the report of the BMI back in 1997. They had a prophetic word. They said unless these recommendations are acted upon by Congress.
Yeah. Specifically by
yes,
Congress.
because those were proposals that needed legislation.
Yeah.
And that's why during the hearings on the Princess of the Stars, I kept on emphasizing that report of the BMI.
Right.
Because I wanted to spur Congress into action and say that, hey, it's not just Pag-asa, it's not just Sulpicio or Marina who's at fault. It's also Congress.
Okay, despite those prophetic words, where are the bills? Are they buried somewhere, or are they destined for a permanent death, or where are they?
Well, we're now in the final stretch of the 14th Congress, and they're saying that this stretch, the third session, might not really be that effective anymore because of the elections that are coming up.
Which means?
Which means that somebody in the 15th Congress would have to refile it.
So between now and then, when the boats go out to sea, there's a chance that history might repeat itself.
History will repeat itself, just as it did in the past.
That doesn't sound like good news, but anyway, thank you very much for joining us, Congressman Ruffy. When Media in Focus returns, we'll be looking at the best of Philippine journalism.